Hey friends, what's up? This is Metro. Today we're gonna look at the perfect early game and look how you can transition your early game into an easy win in Deadlock. The early game is probably the most important part. Yeah, you can turn the fights around later on, you can turn the money advantage around later on, but starting off well is gonna give you the easiest way to a victory. So today I'm just gonna give you my thoughts here. This is a live replay. We're gonna check out the audio levels a tiny bit. There might be like some difficulties. This is kind of a follow-up video to a guide I have on my main channel, which went over like how to lane and how to win your lane every single time. And I got a lot of questions in that video that I'm also gonna address in this video, okay? So this is gonna be a pretty in-depth guide, I would say, or a pretty in-depth commentary on how to win your lane really easily, and then again, transition and get to an easy win right after, okay? So this is a duo lane, I'm solo queue, and we're playing with an Abrams that I don't know, and we're playing against a Bebop and Goo Man, Goo Guy. In general, this lane is probably an even lane, if not favorite for the Dynamo and the Viscous, okay? Like, Abrams is pretty fucking good in lane, like almost unbeatable because he can regen. Wraith is a mid-tier character, and Dynamo, Viscous have a lot of harassment potential, especially early on with their spells. But yeah, here's how you win, okay? It's as simple as taking cover, going in, and applying pressure early. So as you can see here, after a second of the game being started, all their creeps are down. I got 4 melees off without taking basically any damage, right? We're still at full HP. And the reason this is such a big deal, okay, is because now we have all the time in the world to just shoot the enemy and look for denies, okay? This is why you want to apply pressure early on the enemy creeps, and this is why you want to ideally melee hit your own creeps, right? By meleeing your own creeps, you guarantee the full money amount for you and your teammate instantly. Not only do you guarantee the full money amount, you also make it so the enemy has no chance of denying, right? Makes sense. I mean, it's the same thing. So yeah, again, let me repeat this. I know this is a really big deal. Like, especially at the very start, it's a really big deal. If you can get in and push the creep wave to their tower really early, look, what we can do here is we can apply pressure, and unlike in Dota or League, if you're a MOBA player, the tower will not focus you as a player. It will not target prioritize you. So as long as the tower is shooting one of your creeps, you can do whatever you want, right? You can spend time shooting the enemy, or you can sit there, apply pressure on the tower, and wait for the denies. Right here, I see that 2 of my creeps are already pretty low. The one like right in front of my screen, and the one on the right side. So I look for denies, instant deny, and the reason I get these denies off is not necessarily because I'm better than the enemy or faster. It's also because I'm closer to the creeps, right? I'm sitting right behind my creeps, and there's bullet travel time in this game. Especially Viscous and Dynamo have a bit slower projectiles, so the closer I am to a creep, the more I can guarantee a last hit. And as you can see, we're already double money after the first wave. And not only are we double money, we also are really putting the enemy on the back foot, right? And as you can see, we go in right again immediately. First I make sure to get my creeps, which we got all 4 again without denies, and now we can just tower dive, right? This is insane. Like, we don't get the kill. Actually, I lie. Yeah, what you can do with cards is pretty insane. So right there, right, we're on the second wave, and we can basically just run after the enemy, and they can't do anything because there's so many creeps on their tower that we can just go in, and then I get a free kill with the cards right after. Which, if you guys don't know how cards work on Wraith, if you guys don't know how cards work, they track to your crosshair, right? So you can literally throw them around corners, and once you get a bit more experience with them, you can get insane value. Okay, so now I back out, right? I buy Healing Rite, most important part right here. Healing Rite is probably the best item to sustain in lane. So the way Healing Rite works is an active, right? If you don't know, you cast it and you gain healing until an enemy hero hits you. Right there, I kind of peeked a bit aggressively, so he hit me during the channel time. So I didn't get full healing back, but look at the amount of money we have now compared to them. This is a really significant lead after like just like 2 minutes in the game, okay? And as you can see, now that we're ahead, we're gonna try to keep the pressure ahead. My Abrams is playing pretty well too, but yeah. The enemy is so scared of actually contesting us here that we can just keep the pressure on. And again, we're back at that tower, getting free farm in here. Looking for denies, right? I know the enemy at this point is really desperate to get money, but I'm not letting them, right? All I can focus on is harassing the enemy and getting last hits or denies on my own creeps. And again, the only reason this is possible is because we rushed their creeps down early, right? If they would have creeps up and I would have creeps up, it would be more of an even lane, because then I have to focus on both. Getting the last hits on my creeps and on their creeps at the same time. But this way, yeah, we just denied 4 creeps again. And now we're double money, 2k against 1k. This is an insane lead after like a minute. It's time to address the first comment, I guess, that someone asked me. Someone asked me, wouldn't you want to play defensive in this game? Wouldn't you want to play under your own tower? Because if you're that far forward, right, we're very close to that tower right now, wouldn't you get ganked? Wouldn't it be easier for the enemy to gank you? And the answer is yes. There is technically a risk involved. If you see someone missing on the other lane, they could come to your lane, catch you from behind and kill you, right? So there is a risk to pushing up this far, but this early, people usually don't gank. The time you want to look out for ganks is when someone on the other lane dies or when they're missing. And the reason you want to look for them when someone dies is they can make the decision. Let's assume, like, for example, the Lady Guys would die on the lane right next to me, right? They respawn and they could decide to gank by speeding into that lane, in our lane, and jump behind us, right? Jump in with a speed boost and kill us, right? So the way I look for ganks is I try to keep my eye on the minimap sometimes, map awareness, just to know when someone is missing, and then maybe play a bit passive then, or when someone on the other team is dead, okay? That's the 2 times you want to look for denies. Right now, I'm not really worried about dying though, because we're so far ahead. I keep on buying my items. I'm maxed out basically already on my basic lane items, so I already decide, because we're so far ahead. Usually I say for Tesla Cannon, but I go for Bullet Lifesteal because I know if I stay alive and I keep my health healthy with Bullet Lifesteal, there's really no way that the enemy is gonna be able to kill me in the next few minutes if I play it correctly, right? We're like basically double their level. That's another thing about souls that people don't seem to realize, right? Not only souls obviously give you money to get better items, but like the more important part in the early game is that it gives you levels, right? Like if I have ults and they don't, there's actually no way they can kill me, right? You get basic stats for leveling up as well, right? Your health goes up every time you level up, etc, etc. Yeah, so 5.5 minutes in and we get that tower. So this has been a really, really good early game. And I always say this, the more you are ahead, the more wary you want to be and the safer you want to play, right? I know you tend to kind of get cocky the more you're ahead and you try to go for more and more. And this is an issue with every player, including myself, right? Like you want to get greedy, you want to get more. But the more you are ahead compared to the enemy, the more money they will get if they actually get a counter kill, right? So even if I end up killing the enemy again and again, if they end up killing me after, they will get a lot of money for just one simple kill. That's how it works. And here is the first time where I didn't pay attention. And I immediately get punished for it, right? And this could have easily been avoided, right? So instead of backing out, maybe looking for creep camps after killing the tower, or maybe going for other lanes, we were not realizing that the enemy Lash was missing. He comes in, we're very far pushed up, and he ults us, and we end up dying for it. I'm gonna pause before I die here real quick. We're at 4.9k, 4.7k, right? And they're on 2.9 each. The Lash also way behind our money. But after his kill, they get a big gold boost, right? And that was a big catch-up mechanic for 3 of them, okay? So what do I do now? I just died after having a pretty decent or a really good early game. What do I do now? Why do I go for yellow and why do I not go back to my lane? Another question that comes up frequently, like when should you leave your lane, right? Technically, your lane is won when you kill the enemy tower because they don't have protection anymore. And at that point, you can still decide to go back to your lane and farm. As long as there's not more than 2 people on the lane, you get the full amount of money for 10 minutes, okay? So if there's 2 people on the lane, you get the exact same amount of money. The issue comes in when you have more than 2 people on the lane. If you have 3 or more people on the lane, the money gets split between all players, so you lose money, right? So if you go for objectives really early or you stack like 3 people on the lane, it's actually not that good. And the reason I go for yellow is I see that yellow is very pushed up to my tower, right? I look at the stats and my Wraith is losing pretty hard against their Paradox, right? In fact, the Paradox has even more money than I do, right? So I'm trying to help my Wraith out here. I boost in and I force the Paradox out. Now, I didn't do this perfectly. If you dash off the zipline with good timing after a crouch spam, I could have probably gotten further behind him and maybe lifted him and maybe gotten a kill. But at least I forced him back a bit. So now I realize, well, the gank didn't work out. But I know I'm farmed enough to where I can at least force the Paradox out. That was also a wasted ult right there, right? Like, it wasn't great. The cooldown on lift is pretty high, so now it's like 90 seconds. But we're putting pressure on him. And as you can see, I don't know, yeah, we're still gonna end up killing him just because we have 2 people on the lane and he's alone. Like, we forced cooldowns and now we're gonna push this tower. And every tower kill opens the map up further for my team, and every tower kill gives my team more money. So I'm helping out my entire team. But more importantly, my Wraith just got a lot of money by getting a kill against a Paradox that was ahead, right? So after you win your lane, it is 100% your number 1 priority to go for other lanes. I misplayed that there. So what happens is, I really want that tower down. I would have committed for this tower either way. But right before the tower goes down, the Paradox, not the Paradox, the Dynamo holds us, right? And I think if I TP a bit better, if I don't end up behind the wall, I maybe live, but I'm really low. I don't know. Probably wouldn't have mattered, to be honest. It's not an awful trade though, because overall, you gotta look at the map. They just spent, like, they had 2 people rotating back into the lane, and they just spent 2 ults, and they also lost 2 people on other lanes. I mean, overall, we ended up going into a pretty even mid game, right? Even if you end up winning your lane, and winning your lane pretty hard, like we did, it is not super easy to keep up your... It is not super easy to keep up your gold lead. And you really want to watch out for who on the enemy team has a lot of gold, right? And be like mindful of like other people, like this Infernus, for example, has 8k. You want to be mindful of these people and respect how much they can do and try to help out the lanes that are struggling the most. Again, we have other videos coming. I'll have another upload probably tomorrow that is going to go over a full game and how you can come back from situations where you are low, down on money, or what could go wrong and right, and how you handle specific situations. But this video, I really wanted to focus on the early game, and I have another example here in the next game coming up after this one. So we're playing this game out. Overall, I think it's just gonna be, yeah, it was actually a pretty easy win. And we end up, I think, finishing the game around the 30-minute mark. And here I am on a solo lane. Actually, I'm lying. There's a duo lane. I hope this is the right replay. Again, with any lane, there are matchups you're gonna win really easily. And there's matchups that are gonna be even, and there's matchups that you almost can't win. And that's normal, right? It is partially a MOBA game. No matter how good your aim or your positioning is, some characters are just way stronger in lane. Like right now, for example, Kelvin is an insane character, basically beats anyone on the lane. But yeah, see how as soon as the lane, again, as soon as we start pushing in, I look for an opening to where I can kill an enemy creep without taking a lot of damage, right? So I realize there's this one creep on the left that is kinda in cover, and I get a melee off, and luckily he doesn't deflect. Really good players will actually deflect based on the sound alone, so you could have predicted that. It could have been very risky for me, but we get the melee off, and we also get the melee hit on him, right? So now, again, lanes are pushed. I got 3 creeps, my teammate got 1. That's an unlucky reload, but my teammate denies it. And we're back to putting pressure on the enemy. And we're right on their tower, right? And again, say, all I look out for is enemy denies. I get 2 denies on the first creep wave instantly. And I mentioned this in my laning guide. Denies are like the best way to get ahead in this game early on, right? 4 denies are worth more in the early game than 1 kill on an actual enemy hero. And a lot of people don't realize this. The reason denies are so big is it's an 80 gold swing for your team, right? You take 40 gold from the enemy, so they don't get the 40 gold and you get the 40 gold. So every single deny swings the money on both teams by 80. Okay, and 80 times 4, quick math, it's more than a hero kill. Number 1 priority, get your own creeps. Try to get them in melee, like I'm doing here. Try to get all the denies. And then, number 2 priority, look for denies or look for kills. Right there, I missed a card. If I hit that second card, he dies already. Second creep wave. Yeah, I'm kind of upset here. Free kill. But like, even now, they have to back out, right? And we're getting more creep for him. And notice how I'm sitting under the tower and I took 0 damage, or, you know, like very little damage, because there's creeps that are attacking the enemy tower. So the enemy tower is focusing my creeps first. So now we're 2 minutes into the game and the tower is already really low. Enemy came back from base and I'm looking for denies again. Funnily enough, yeah. This is a duo lane again, right? And the Lash on the other team left this lane after one creep wave because it was the exact same Lash we played against last game. The Lash in this game was the Lash that played Viscous in the other lane against us. So he was like, fuck this shit, bro. He was really upset. We ended up beating this guy like 4 times in one day. He did not have a good day. I don't feel bad because it was like blatantly racist in chat. We made the call here, by the way. We made the call here to rotate. I talked to my teammate, I realized, oh, Lash is missing, he went to another lane. So I realized we're ahead, and I realized I didn't really need his help against a Dynamo, right? Because we're already ahead. So as soon as my Mo and Krill realized the Lash was rotating, my Mo and Krill mirrored the movement of the Mo and Krill and went to the same lane Lash is on, to not give them an advantage, right? We could have stayed here as 2, and probably gotten the tower earlier. But then there is a chance that my Infernus dies on the lane, because my Infernus would be 1 versus 2 people on the other team, right? So on higher rank, people will definitely rotate and adjust based on what they think is good. And you can make your own calls and counter adjust. So here, I almost have 2k, I didn't buy yet, because I just didn't have time to leave, right? I was permanently full HP, and I permanently had to hit creeps or got creep kills. So right there was like the first time I had time to go back without losing any creeps. And I'm back just in time to still get a few denies and get the last hits that I need. I always try to keep track of the money of the opponent too. There are a few cutoff points that allow you to be able to tell what the enemy has, right? I think the most important cutoff point is 3k is what you want to look for, because at 3000 money you get your ult, right? So I always look out for whenever the enemy gets to 3000, so I know they have ult up, right? Because something like Black Hole is obviously very scary if I push into it. But we're not worried about that at this point, he's not even halfway there. And notice how he just can't stay alive. He just can't stay alive. We actually get the card kill here too. The card pressure is in this game on Wraith is actually insane. And here again is where I start thinking about what do I actually want to do right now, right? I just got ult, I just got the tower, I'm pretty low HP and I don't have healing right. So now I back out for a second. Yeah, my laning is really good, but like my mid game and my late game are still trash. So I go back and buy bullet lifesteal because I decide I want to stay on lane. Because I looked at the minimap and I realized not really a lot going on, right? I see everyone on the map. Nobody's missing. So there is no danger of me dying, right? If I saw someone missing, I would probably not go back up and push the Dynamo more. Because if I did that and someone was missing and ganking me, I would throw the lead away if I died, right? But nobody's missing. So I push up a bit further. Now, here's the issue. It is pretty hard to fight under a tier 2 tower this early on, right? Like, no matter how much ahead I am in money, if my creep wave pushes to their Colossus or whatever it's called, Walker, sorry, I basically cannot punish the enemy if he's playing behind cover properly, and he can punish me very easily, right? So this is not optimal, but I think it's too early to gank, for me at least. I like playing Wraith pretty defensively, and again, I'll go over this in my Wraith guide or in my next replay, like the way I play Wraith. Because there is a really specific way to play Wraith, I think, that is the best way, which is passive, farming passively, then rushing Tesla Cannon and playing passively, and only really using your ultimate defensively to where the enemy dives you. That way I get ahead, get insane amounts of money, and then I hard carry in the mid to late game. But yeah, it's not going super hot, right? As you can see, I have troubles like denying the enemy because we're so close to their tower, and he ends up getting more denies on my creeps as well. Just because there's a walker, and if the walker hits me once, you know, I lose a lot of HP. Even though I'm playing this pretty safe. So yeah, I end up missing a bunch of creeps, And in fact, he's getting so confident here that he almost like pushed me. And I wasted an ult there. Dynamo has an ability that can get out of ult, right? If he's good. The reason I can still stay here and stay alive is because I'm just so much more farmed than him. But this is not great, honestly. I should have probably left this lane earlier, right? Now I definitely want to leave. I'm low HP. And I decide to just jungle. Because again, I can't really go for ganks, right? Everyone is playing under their tower, right? Like, the Paradox is under his tower, probably gonna be really hard kill. I don't have ult yet. Yellow is ungankable. It's literally in their base. Like, the creeper is in their base, and same for orange. So, best way to gain money here is to stay on this lane. And the reason I just farmed one little creep camp is because now the enemy creep wave is back to my tower, right? And I can farm this safely. And in fact, the enemy Dynamo is so scared of me, so scared of pushing out because he doesn't have a tier 1 tower anymore, that he didn't even come that far. So you always want to look for where you can get the most money early. So now I have 3k, now I have Tesla cannon. I end up just going in here, getting, I don't know why I did that. I just got a random creep kill. Now I'm going to buy Tesla. And this is where you start really ramping up. You're farming. Realize there's 2 waves coming in for his creeps. So I'm gonna stay here for one more. Bang, bang, bang. Clean that up. And now we're gonna start farming. And I decide to start farming the tier 3 creep camp super early. And this is probably not the correct call, to be honest. Because yeah, I'm too low level. This is, I think I end up living here. Barely, right? But this is super risky, obviously, if someone finds me. It worked out this time, but even then it's not really worth it because it took too long to farm that creep camp. But it wasn't awful, and now the amount of money I have is insane. End up winning another laning phase, and we're gonna end up easily winning this game by keeping the lead we have, right? We have the most money in the lobby. Just look for farming here, and I'm just gonna skip forward to show you like the outcome. The enemy actually ended up being even or even ahead of us in gold for a second. But in the long run, I got such a lead early on that I'm gonna end up snowballing. That was over after 22, 23 minutes. And I'm not showing you this win to be like, oh, look at how good I am. I just want you to understand that the early game is the most important part to winning Deadlock, for sure, right? The beauty about Deadlock is you can always turn the game around later on, right? You can always play from behind, but it is easier to win the game while you're ahead than behind, right? And how do you get ahead? You get ahead in the early game and in the laning stage. So I think that's the #1 thing you should focus on. Practicing first before you worry about super specific counter builds, before you worry about late game. So #1 thing I would recommend you learn is winning your lane, and then #2, how to farm efficiently in the mid game. How to get money while staying alive. Yeah, let me know if you wanna know anything more specific for the laning stage. If you're watching this, it's probably gonna be on the second channel, Metro Deadlock. We have a main channel named Metro. I'll link it in the comments, where we're gonna have a Wraith guide out very soon in the next few days. And we already have a complete laning guide out. And on this channel here, we're gonna keep on doing reviews of our own VODs, and I wanna start doing VOD reviews for you guys. If you guys know me from Overwatch, we did a series called Is It My Team or Do I Suck? And we're gonna do that for Deadlock as well. That's gonna come up soon. I'll let you know in the next video so how you can submit your replays if you're interested in that. Well, that's about it for today. Until next time, see you friends, bye bye.